going on, guys? We are here with another episode of the Passion Pit. I always screw it up, so here we go. We're just going right into it. I am here with my co-host Matt, and we have a great guest with us, Coach. And honestly, just like all around, you've done it all. You played last year, Major 3. We got MARKYB with us. How you doing, Marky?
I'm great, mate. Just had a busy day of scrims, so just enjoying, like, obviously getting excited for the Boston event coming up. So just been practicing and preparing for that, really. And obviously we just came out of holidays as well, so
Yeah, Happy New Year and
yeah, you too.
everything. It's great to see you, Matt. How you doing?
Doing great, brother. Another episode of the Passion Pit. Just happy to hop back in it with another really integral part of the Challengers community, man.
Absolutely. I didn't screw up the intro there, so
That's
that's
first
great to
ever
hear.
first
There we go.
try. I don't think we've ever had a first try.
I had to show off for Mark.
You had to show off.
I had to. No, but no, great. Happy New Year for everyone. This will be technically our second episode in the new year, but this is our first episode we're recording this year in 2024. A lot of big things coming. I'm excited. Mark, do you want me to call you Mark, Marky?
Yeah, call me Mark.
Mark
yeah.
works? All right.
Oh, that for sure.
Usually it's just like everyone just calls you Marky P, but like
Yeah.
it's just a little easier. Mark, how you feeling this new year? I know you're coaching Orgless over there, but how you guys feeling? How you feeling in this upcoming new year? Major coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah,
Let us know.
our practice has been going really well, so I mean we're really excited. Obviously, right now our team is Bance, Hixie, Beans, and Nasty, who are 4 like incredibly talented players who, in my opinion, deserve spots in the CDL. But that's another conversation. But anyway, I think that those guys have been playing really well as a 4 as a collective, because they're also very close in and out of the game. Just obviously a lot of them have Bance and Hixie, even though they didn't directly play together, were like very close when they lived in Toronto together. And same thing with Beans being a part of our like EU academy team at one stage as well. So those guys have kind of always meshed well and always been good friends. So it's been going well for us so far. I'm looking forward to Boston.
Great to hear. I love to hear that. I'm definitely excited for Boston. I'm excited for Challengers. But with that being said, we're gonna get right into everything today. I'm just gonna literally rapid fire everything. With that being said, we're excited for Challengers, but we still don't know what's going on with Challengers, do we? Like, is there any information you know that you can tell us, or is it just still up in the air with Challengers? There's no cups released, as far as I know, for upcoming cups, and the first major is essentially gonna be the first cup, right?
Yeah, I mean I've not heard anything. To be honest, that's the thing. Last year, or like in previous years when I was in the CDL, I'd kind of know a lot of things before they were announced and things like that. But now I'm generally in the complete dark. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And I've not heard anything, so maybe the CDL guys don't know what's going on either. So I don't know. There's obviously
Yeah.
been different rumors saying that Face It was a rumor to be hosting it, or don't know if that's confirmed or not. Is that confirmed?
I don't think it's confirmed, but Matt,
I'm not
you've
tripping,
heard
is
that though, right?
Yeah.
That might have been confirmed.
I was about to say, I think it was sort of confirmed, but then nothing happened with it. Like they announced it, or not actually the Call of Duty League, but it was announced on multiple Twitters. I think Breaking Point even said something about it, where it was supposed to be kind of the new thing that was going to bring challengers in. And then ever since the announcement, it's been kind of the same thing that Mark was saying. I mean, it's just left in the dark really for everybody. And even like a person like Mark, I mean, your team has kind of been dubbed the London Royal Ravens of this year, right? I mean, you guys are that highly talented in the EU scene. Even for you guys to not know what's going on is kind of crazy to me to even think about. You know, from head to toe in the challengers community, there's not a single person who's being told anything about what's happening.
Yeah, it's not ideal. I mean, to be honest, we'd have liked more sort of knowledge of what's going on, because at the end of the day, in comparison to CDL as well, there's a lot less job security in challengers. So it's kind of good to know what your, future plans are and things like that. So it's been hard to obviously plan forward for that, not knowing what events we're going to go to when you're talking to like different organizations and stuff like that. Obviously, we're not currently with an org, so it's not ideal, because the orgs don't know what's going on, the players don't know what's going on. I think that that's something that needs to be fixed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate. We've talked to a few people. We've talked to Ant over at the rotation. talked to Jace over at Convoy and a few others, and it's just like, what's going on with challengers? Like we've had a few updates in terms of not even updates, few messages where it's like update coming soon, but we're still waiting on that update in the new year. Hoping that soon is not Major 1. Like I'm hoping we get something in the next week or so. We have to, I would assume, correct? Like
You'd
gotta
like
be
to,
something.
you'd like to hope so, but I mean, I'm not optimistic on it. I
Yeah.
think we could go into this whole thing just the event being the initial cup or whatever that may be. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the outcome, but I hope that isn't the case. Because then it's obviously
Yeah.
based on last year's seeding and stuff like that, which is crazy, obviously, because some teams are just completely skewed due to some teams having players that were in the CDL, so they just don't have as many points. Like, I mean,
Yep.
our multiple of our players were playing in well, Charlie was in a World Championship final. You had different players playing in different important matches further on in the CDL, but it doesn't really matter because they don't have the Challengers Pro points. So we're like fourth seed in Europe. I think probably like 10th overall or something, I'd imagine. So our seed
Yeah.
is not, in my opinion, um, showing exactly where.
Reflective of your
Yeah,
team.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, it puts us into a tough position if that is the case going into Boston, but not anything that I'm worried that we can't overcome. To be honest, I think that we're good enough to beat the best teams. So um,
Yeah.
I'm not super worried about it, but it's just still one of those things that's you have to deal with, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna ask too. I mean, going into Boston, I mean, what's the overall feeling in the camp right now as you guys head into the first major? I mean, obviously you guys have been having really successful performances in the EU scene, and I think everybody can agree to what you're saying. The 10th seed in EU doesn't even come close to really telling how good this team is in general, not just in EU, but overall in the total challenger scene.
Yeah.
But heading into Boston, I mean, how are you guys feeling really about the new game and really heading into this first, what could be the first cup of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super confident. Like I said, I think that these guys are good enough to win a tournament. So, especially in challengers, I think that we've been putting in the same level of effort as that we would be if we're in a CDL franchise
Mhm.
team. These guys haven't really took their foot off the gas now that they've dropped into a lower level. It doesn't really matter for them. They're still going really like extremely hard, and putting in that effort every single day. So I think that the guys are super prepared for it and ready.
That's good to hear. I know it's gonna be an interesting start, as we already talked about. The seedings are gonna be defined by last year's pro points, and gonna really. I think that's a not a good thing, but I think that's gonna really make for a crazy event.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
because a lot of these good teams, like you were just saying about your team, aren't going to have that first seed, even though they probably would if there was a actual cup beforehand. They'd have that first second seed instead, dropping down to fourth, fifth, potentially whatever seed you end up dropping down to. Really, teams maybe that aren't looking so good are going to get those first, second seeds, and it's just gonna throw everything for a loop. I think so. It's gonna be an interesting event. Hopefully we get some more info here soon. We got what 3 weeks? 3 weeks till Major 1, I
Yeah,
believe.
Yeah.
yeah, not far at all.
It's
Going in.
coming. Yeah, it is really coming, and hopefully it's not as cold as last year in Boston.
Fingers crossed. That was horrible. That was
uh,
horrible.
Negative 30.
Speaking of which, though, I think they changed the venue from last year, right? Like last year, it was in the Fenway Park, up like on top, like upstairs in Fenway Park. I think it's across the way at the House of Blues, correct? Or am
Yeah,
I wrong
yeah,
on that?
I believe so.
So
It's
hopefully
for the same
there's
venue.
gonna be some heating.
Yeah, I mean, it was just really cold that weekend. It wasn't ideal. I don't
Yeah,
think their upstairs area, when they probably originally viewed it, they were
yeah.
expecting it to be whatever it was. It was the coldest weather I've ever been a part of, and I've lived in Canada for 3 years. So like to put that into perspective, that was
Yeah.
still colder than what I'd experienced when I'd lived in Canada.
So fingers crossed it's not as cold, because I personally don't want to be sitting in outside waiting for those doors to open, as we're freezing our ass off. And I know, I think it's the House of Blues, which is across the way from the MGM Center, which is nice. but I don't want to have to traverse between the two and negative 30-degree weather like last year. That was not fun. But so that's coming up soon. And after Major 2 last year, we had Major 3. This is something I wanted to bring up. I already talked to you about it beforehand. Mark, this is something a little fun. Major 3 last year, there was an unfortunate incident with Arcitys where you had to play, I think it was a full series. It was like 3 maps, correct?
Two maps, it was.
2 maps.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember being in the crowd when everything was going on, and I know the crowd was loving you. They showed so much support when you picked up the sticks again. There was a little Mark chant, like the Finding Nemo chant. It was Mark.
Yeah.
But how did that feel? I know it's about a year later, but how did that feel? Do you miss playing on that level, or?
Oh yeah, it was definitely like a bit of a buzz being in that game and like winning a map again and stuff like that. I definitely enjoyed that aspect, but at the same time, going into it, I wasn't kind of expecting to play. We hoped one of our other players could play, but there was complications, so we couldn't. So I ended up having to, with our challengers players we had at the time. The thing is, I was not backstage warming up ready to play. Like, I was coaching the map before, and then I just had to go. Luckily I had a controller, because at that point in time we were all grinding together quite a bit, and we would always play like 3v3s or 4v4s and get like our analyst and assistant coach in, so we'd have like kind of coaches and players all kind of warming up together. So we would always bring our controllers, so I just luckily had it, and I was a registered sub. So it just happened that I got drafted in. Dropped the donut first map, and then obviously won the second map, which was map 3 in the series, which was cool having that moment. But at the same time, we then lost 3-1, so it didn't matter too much. It would have been cool if we'd like somehow like kicked on from that point and made like a run or something in the tournament. Then in that case, it would have been like extremely cool. But my job at the time on LAG was not being judged on my performance as a player. So so at the end of the day, we still came in top 12. So it didn't exactly make me too happy. To be honest with you, I wasn't. I wasn't buzzing about it afterwards. It was cool when everyone was coming to me after the game, like, "Oh, well done, Mark. You played your heart out." Blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. It was cool, but it also was like, we just lost.
You wanted to win.
I'm out the tournament, and it's Friday, and I'm here until Monday. I think I ended up booking a new flight home. I didn't even stay. I didn't even stay for the full week, and I stayed for that last night, and then I left the next day. So I left on the Saturday because I watched Toronto Ultra win it from my couch back in Scotland. I got a flight back to Scotland. So yeah, it was.
I remember. It was. I just remember there was so much going on. I think at the time when there was things going on, I was in the challengers area, and I remember they came in because who was the sub? It was 2 Real.
Our sub was Neptune and Spart were like subs.
And Spart.
Yeah.
Yep. And so, and I remember, 2 Real was on
Vegas.
Yep. Yeah. But I remember that, like, there was a whole bunch of stuff going on in the challengers area trying to figure out who the sub was going to be. And I think at the time, Spart, or it was one of the two were they were playing at the time, so they couldn't go to the stage. They go to the main stage because they were still in a series. But then, I mean, it's unfortunate. Like, I think everyone agree, even the OpTic fans, being that it was in Texas, everyone there would agree that they wanted to see you guys make a run, especially after all that. The crowd gave you a lot of love, which is awesome to see. It was just one of those. It was unfortunate, but it was one of those moments that was just. I know personally, I'll never forget that moment because it was such a crazy moment on, like, in the CDL at the time. And seeing you back on stage was cool. But yeah, so that's good to hear. And now we talked about a little of your playing last year. I personally want to know, like, a little stuff into your coaching. You don't have to give us the details of it, but just what goes behind coaching a CDL team? Like, how much do you wake up every day, watch VOD, not a CDL team, but a challenger team? How do you go throughout your day as a coach?
I mean, for me, first of all, the first thing I do is a day, and to start my day is I wake up and go to the gym or go a run. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I try and stay as healthy as possible. Then I'll eat lunch, and then usually me and the guys will get on like a little bit earlier to talk about things. To be honest, it's one of those things where we don't try and overflood with information. I think that's one thing that you can get roped into as a coach, and I've done previously, where you just focus so much on VOD and all these things that you kind of forget the important aspects of being a
Mm-hmm.
team. So some days we'll get on and we'll do very limited VOD and warm up together, and then just kind of joke around before the scrims get started. Just because I think that it's important as well to be a really tight knit unit as a team. And like I said, everyone's kind of got their own lives as well, so it's good to give those guys and myself more time to focus on looking after themselves, going to the gym. Like our entire team pretty much is currently going to the gym and working out, and I think that's honestly as equally as important. Well, not equally as important as playing the game. That would be a bit of that would be a bit of a stretch. But
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that's definitely undervalued. I think there's only benefits to it. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
there's any negatives. So in my opinion,
Physical health and mental health are very important.
yeah, 100%. So I'm really a firm believer in that. And I know other organizations, Toronto specifically, when I was a part of them as well, they really pushed for the same thing. So like that's one thing that will always be going on our team chat every day is myself or Bance or Hixie or someone will be like gym check, like checking if people have been to the gym. So like even though that's only a little jokey thing, I think it kind of like holds us accountable as well.
Accountable. Yeah.
Although to be honest, for me, I've just been going for a long time, so I would just be going regardless if there was a gym check message. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, those guys are definitely holding themselves accountable, which is good.
Yeah. That's good to hear.
And I think it gives the team, like you said, that kind of tight knit feel too. Like you guys are all working towards a goal outside the game and inside the game, right? And it's kind of like you said, kind of making that team chemistry on and off the game, which is really good to see, man. And I kind of wanted to, Krim touched on it a little bit, but what are kind of the differences? Like you said, you're with LAG, now you're in Challengers with arguably, I'm not gonna say that they're necessarily a better team than that LAG roster, but I mean, you guys have one of the nastiest challengers rosters around that obviously have competed at that pro level. What's kind of the difference from like that LAG to now coming into challengers from the day-to-day aspect?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things being a CDL team that you kind of need to do. That you're obviously talking with upper management and you're constantly doing sort of smaller little things as a team where you're recording content. You are doing things like team building exercises. When we were in LAG, we had like a physio who would like after scrims, like we'd be getting like massages and things like this. So like it's obviously a lot different like that than that day to day. We had a lot of meetings discussing future plans. With Ultra specifically, I'd say we actually even had even more. It was like we constantly were having meetings, which made it feel very organized, which was good. But I'd say those are the kind of main differences between CDL and being challengers now. There's a lot of less to do with that. Although I'm sure if we had an organization, there would be more of that sort of stuff. But right now, as a 5-man, in fact 6-man, because we also have Jake as our analyst. So um, we're just a very small, tight knit group at the minute.
Yeah.
And about the Orgless thing, is that kind of a team decision to go Orgless, or was it just trouble kind of finding an org that worked with you guys? Like, what's kind of the decision there? Because that's something that we do see some challengers teams do, but I don't think we've ever seen one this high caliber of a team not be funded or under an org.
Yeah, and to be transparent about this, I think it's the biggest thing for our players is putting themselves in a position where if they are performing, they can get themselves back into the CDL, and
Mm-hmm.
ultimately organizations and things like that may have a lot of benefits, but that it could impact the ultimate goal if there's like buyouts and stuff like that in play. So like all these sort of factors are important. Although we do understand that obviously amateur organizations need to be able to recoup some costs as well. It's just a hard situation because I think it's just the way it's set up. You're kind of forced into this position. If you are one
Yeah.
of the top players and you believe that you're going to get an opportunity in the CDL eventually, then you're going to want to have no potential like roadblocks to that. Um, So I think that's kind of the situation. But we have been discussing with different organisations. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely things being on the work, like potentially in the future with different potential organisations, but can't really speak too much about that.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is just obviously we're open to joining an organisation. It just depends on the situation in terms of the deals and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know for a fact that team, as we already talked about, that team's just that's a 1 seed team. Even whether
Yeah.
they go into major 1, 4 seed, 3 seed, that's a 1 seed team. I'm just curious, and I mean, I want you to be as honest as possible. I want you to be a little I can't even think of the word. I just want to know how you're feeling going into major 1. What do you think your ceiling's at as a team? And if you don't want to answer it, that's fine. I know some people don't like going into that. They don't want to jinx it or whatever. But I'm just curious. What do you think your ceiling's at? I know all those players, former pro players, were in the CDL last year. Um, where do you think you're gonna end up after Major 1?
I mean, obviously I've watched like a lot of NA streams and things like that, and so I kind of know the general landscape over there. But for us, like we've been performing really well in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
I would say for sure that I think that from what I've seen from us, from what I've seen from other teams on stream and stuff like that, I definitely think that we have the ability to win the event. It's obviously just harder to gauge because you're not playing against the NA challengers teams as well. If we were
Yeah.
able to practice, as a group together, if the internet wasn't a problem, then I think that would obviously be magic. But it's one of those things that it's harder to gauge. Um, it's the same thing if you're in NA, like you don't really know where we stack up against them either. So it's all a bit of a
Mm-hmm.
mystery. I think the events start to kind of paint more of that picture because I think the landscape and challengers has changed over the few years where you've had a few years where I'd say there's European teams that have really done well in a lot of these competitions. Then there's teams where there's years where it's kind of switched and it's been more NA dominant. Um, so I think that it really just depends on the first events or setting that bar really. I would like to see where that kind of pans out, which is annoying by going back to the initial conversation about the pro point situation and not having a cup before the first event. If that is the case, it could be a bit of a weird one where it's not a true reflection of um, certain teams' results. But like I said, I still believe that we are a team that can beat every single team regardless of our seed. But I think that certain teams might end up dropping out and maybe have a tough matchup and they fall to it, even though they're maybe a better team. And then they're in a situation where they're playing for top 24 against another top, challengers team, and then there's one team that just unfortunately gets knocked out due to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it's unfortunate. But I guess we're just gonna have to see what happens. Hopefully, we get some more information here soon. We've kind of beaten a dead horse. I feel like the entire challenges community is just waiting for that information, and we're all like on the edge of our seats, hoping something comes. But yeah, from there, I just want. There's a few other things I want to touch. I know, um, just recently it was announced. I think you have one episode out with them, but you are now a co-host over at the Reverse Sweep with Aches and Parasite. How is that going? Is that going well? I think there's one episode out, right?
There's been two
Maybe
so
just one.
far.
Two.
The two opening weekends of the CDL. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously we are like episodes come out were recorded on the Sunday after the last CDL match, and then they're released on the Monday. So every CDL weekend, league match, CDL event this season. That's our plan. And then
Mm-hmm.
obviously it's been incredible to be a part of. I think that those guys are two very well spoken and knowledgeable ex Call of Duty World Champions at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
I've known them for years, so it's one of those things we've always spoke to each other at events and things like that. So although I feel like I'm still getting more comfortable with it, I think that it's one of those things where we're all pretty comfortable with each other as individuals outside of it. So it's not one of those things where it's just three random people being like put together. And obviously, X
Yeah.
and Haggy have been doing it together for quite some time.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good to hear. I'm hoping. I don't know. I not saying you have to, but I've been trying to get Haggy over on this podcast for a bit because I know he has a lot of love for the challenger scene, and with like Doug. But if you ever talk about it, definitely throw some hints over there to him. But just wanted to say that. And it's great to hear that that's going well. I'm excited. I know I personally, I watch the flank every day after the events. I watch the breakdown over on Monday, and I also watch the reverse sweep, and it's great seeing you over there. It's great seeing you some more success. And speaking of success, can't speak right now. Speaking of success, I am curious. Do you see yourself ever getting back to the CDL, in a coaching role?
Yeah, most definitely. I think that that's all of our goals. We want to be in
Yes.
at the highest level. So for me, definitely getting back to that. I think that with Toronto, I was, in my opinion, doing very well. Obviously moved over to LAG, and then the things kind of fell apart there within the organization. So,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where, well, I definitely think I could have done things better last year. I think that it was tough situations they put in, but then coming into this year, expected to return to LAG, but didn't actually end up happening. So it's obviously very different, different this year compared to that. Um, so what was the? I've lost my trail of thought here. What was the original question?
I was pretty much just asking if you see yourself getting back into the
Yeah, I
CDL
just
in a
went on a
coaching role. Yeah,
tangent. I was about to start ranting about LAG there, and I
you're
was like,
good.
I probably shouldn't rant about LAG. So what was the original point of the conversation? But yeah,
Yeah.
no, I
So
definitely
yeah,
see
just
myself back in there for sure. I think that the LAG situation was tough, but I think that coming back into the CDL is my natural situation, in my opinion. I think that I'm going to prove that I'm a good enough coach to be in the CDL this year in Challengers, and then come in next year and hopefully get a position somewhere. But I don't see
yeah,
any like Challengers movement with CDL, like Challengers and CDL coaches switching at any point during the season. You don't really see. I don't think
Yeah,
we've ever seen any like
I was about to
mid-season coach
say.
changes. Like I don't think we've ever seen that. I think it's one of those things that isn't really done. I think everyone's so focused on making player changes throughout the year that it's a forgotten part of it. I do think that good coaches can make a big difference on a successful team. Um,
yeah,
I think that so, the likes of NYSL with Derail and Sender, Flux and Joe and things like that at Toronto. All the Atlanta Phase guys. I mean, honestly, I could go through the LAT coaches. Like, I think there's a bunch of coaches that have made big differences to championship teams. Um,
hmm
and I think that there's definitely an improved talent within the CDL, but I still think there's gaps there and things that people don't really focus on. Um, but I think every coach has their own unique style. It just depends if it fits with that team. Um, and luckily for me in Toronto, I was always given a position where I helped build the team from the very first roster of Toronto Ultra. So I was always having my hand in like signing specific players who I believed would fit within what we're trying to build. Um, the situation with LAG was different, where I went in with a roster that was already signed. So like ultimately, I probably would have made some different roster decisions there for sure. To be honest, and that's not me being like disrespectful to the other players. I think that they would even admit that they weren't a good mesh together. So I definitely think that things would have been completely differently. Not the academy roster, by the way. I'm talking about the initial first roster, but
No,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, and I was about to say too, I think COD is kind of one of those weird things where it really does take a lot of chemistry throughout the coach and the players. Because, when you look at a lot of normal sports like basketball, football, the players can sometimes just go out there, perform, and they'll win games. But I think a lot of times you kind of, like you said, you need both. And I don't think a lot of teams look at how the coach necessarily fits with the team. Um, I think you guys, though, over there with Orgless, I mean, I kind of wanted to bring this up as like a hypothetical question because a lot of people talk about, oh, I think there's challengers teams out here that could beat, some of these CDL teams. Do you think your challengers team as constructed, you guys get thrown into a CDL tournament? How far do you guys go? What do you place at the CDL tournament as constructed right now?
uh, it's hard to say, man, because like it's really hard to to like see how we perform against the CDL teams, because we've just not had the opportunity to obviously practice against them. Unlike the
Yeah.
NA Challengers teams who have been getting a bunch of CDL pro scrims, it's like not been the case for us. We did scrim Miami when they were home at Christmas time for 2 days, so we have played them. But apart from that, we've not played anyone else. So it's one of those things where we're kind of like in the dark in terms of how we would do. I would say, if I was modest, I would say top 6 in my opinion. I think we're good enough to be in the top 6.
Ooh.
If I was modest, I actually think
How
we'd be
how did those
potentially there.
scrims?
I was
with
about to
Miami
say,
go?
how did the scrims go? Are we allowed to know, or is that under wraps right now?
I would say it would be fair to say they were very even. I wouldn't say that either team really. I'd say the map count was probably around even.
Yeah.
Maybe slightly skewed towards them potentially. I'm trying to think about all the. I'm trying to think of the map counts.
I mean,
I'm pretty
Miami's
sure it was
doing
around
very
even.
well off the rip. So
Yeah, I was about to
it's
say.
good to see that. I mean, going map for map with Miami, honestly, right now are what potentially a top 4, top 5 team they're
Easily.
looking like.
Yeah. I
Can
mean,
we?
I was about to say, I think
Nah,
they're
but
up.
like, to be honest with you, I think scrims are like one of those things where they've just came back from. I have been in this exact same
Yeah.
situation
Yeah.
personally when we were with Ultra and we came home at Christmas time. Like scrims around that time when you're like flying home, you're used to playing together in a facility. Some people might have
Yeah.
like shitty
It's a little
setups at
slack
home.
off.
I think that it's a situation where they could potentially have underperformed. But I mean, it could also be a situation where that isn't the case, and we always perform well. I just think that that's important to mention because I think that I've personally been in those situations where in Toronto we came home and got battered by all the EU teams in scrims for 2 weeks, and then we went to the kickoff classic and somehow won the event. So like, sometimes it just doesn't.
So
go
that
good
yeah,
practice.
it doesn't always go the same. I mean, there's I think like you said, especially in scrims, there's always kind of different factors from just
Yeah.
day-to-day life to, different stuff. But I think we're really going to see how things kind of boil down in Boston, man. I think you guys are going to do really well personally from, getting to cast some of the challengers. I got to watch obviously cast the NA portion of the rotation cup. I didn't get to watch. Did you guys y'all participated in the EU portion for Ants Cup, right?
I think so. Yes, I believe
The
so.
Puck Cup. How did you guys do
Yeah.
in that? I wasn't able to watch as much on the EU side. I
Oh,
was
sorry. Yes, I thought
casting
there was.
it.
I thought you were saying there's another one. Yeah, no, we won the first rotation.
I was about to
cup.
say, yeah.
Yeah.
I figured you guys did. Like we were,
I thought you
we
were
were
talking about
locked
a
in on
next
the
cup.
NA side. No, I mean, next cup, I think you guys might potentially win too. I mean, you guys have a really good roster. I mean, I think looking at challengers right now, there's probably the top 10 to 8 teams are just absolutely stacked. If you're really looking at it from top to bottom, I think you guys being a lower seed, I think it's going to throw a wrench in there, man, because you're going to get to see some of these matchups maybe, coming in before the even championship Sunday that you would think you'd see on Sunday that one of those teams isn't going to make it just because of how the seedings work out. So, I mean, I'm excited, man. I mean, you guys are coming in off a hot win from that. And really, again, shout out to Ant because that's the only challengers quote unquote
Event.
cup. Yeah, we got to put, the quotations around cup.
Event.
Yeah, event, challengers event that has even been put on. So it was at least
Yeah.
good to see the challengers get to go out and actually have something to play for.
Yeah, for sure. I think that ideally the more tournaments the better. For me as well. I think it's easier to improve when you're seeing yourself in tournament gameplay
Yeah.
more regularly, because sometimes scrims, like we were just saying, it's not really truly reflective of how you're like playing on certain maps, specifically S&D as well. I think S&D practice is sometimes a bit horrible because teams are just trying out new strategies or they're just not trying at all. So it's like not really reflective of what it would be like in a tournament setting.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so we're coming up on, we're already past our 30 minutes, but we love the talk. It's fine. One more question I have. This kind of wraps back to the you and coach in the CDL coaching again. This is a hypothetical question. If you could right now pick any team coach in the CDL in any system, whether the team wise, coaching wise, any system to go into, is there a team you would be looking at specifically?
I mean, like what, joining a set like the set rosters right now and replacing their head coach?
Joining the set roster, and let's say joining the coaching staff that they
Oh,
have
okay.
already there.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
culture they
I,
have.
Yeah,
I
instead
didn't
of
want,
just
I didn't want to
replacing.
call. I didn't want to call out a specific coach. You'd be like,
That
no,
would
I
have been
want to replace
wild.
them.
I mean, if you want to, if you want to, I mean,
No,
nah.
like joining the staff in that culture essentially.
Got you. I think for me, the two easy choices. I mean, the easiest choice is probably to say Toronto because I've worked with those guys previously. I know the staff and the organization. I know some of the
Mhm.
players. I think that would be the easiest choice for me. Outside of that, I would probably say NYSL, LAT. Probably
Yeah.
some of my top choices, to be honest, just due to the players on there and the current coaching staff as well.
Yeah.
I'd say that those would be my top three. Toronto
That's
number
fair.
one. Toronto number one
Yeah.
though. The other two are they're just second. They can both be second.
Yeah. I mean I kind of assume the Toronto one, same with the NYSL one, because NYSL in my opinion, those three are some of the better, not better, but like more filled out coaching staffs to where like you can tell they bring that team building culture to the team, as well as just like the team being there. I know D-Real over at NYSL. I've talked to him. He's a really cool guy. Same with Shane and JCap over at the Thieves. They're all great coaching staff. So I understand what your mindset going into it is, and it's just interesting to see what your idea into with which team you would go for in terms of joining that coaching staff. But yeah, anything else you want to talk about? Anything you want to leak that you know of, if you know anything?
Grim's all about the leagues.
I'll throw OpTic in the mix as well. I'll just throw that out there. You gotta throw
okay.
Oh,
you
of
gotta
course.
throw,
Yeah.
you gotta throw,
We gotta throw OpTic in.
I think anybody would take that job.
you gotta throw OpTic in the mix as well. Completely forgot about them somehow.
You
Oh man, we're forgetting about
forgot
OpTic.
about OpTic, you know.
My bad.
No, there's the thumbnail.
He
Forgets
forgets
OpTic.
about OpTic.
There you go.
No, but anything else you want to talk about?
Shameless
If you have
plugs?
anything you want to tell us,
Yeah, I would just like to say, like, I'm looking forward to being at in the Challengers event of the first event of the year, because I think that
Mhm.
obviously that's my first year being in Challengers. Just even since CWL times, I was kind of within the top teams. So for me, it's
Yeah.
going to be like a new experience to be back in that mix, and I'm looking forward to it. To be honest, I'm really looking forward to just getting in the pit and shouting at people. So.
I'm just picturing it now, just you behind the team, just yelling at everyone.
Yeah, we're gonna be
I love
roaring
it.
in there. Swear to God.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But no, I swear, I want to say just like obviously massive shout out to all the challengers supporters as well. I think that all the organizations and the rotation and all these sort of people, I think that they really do well for challengers. So shout out to them.
Yeah, 100% rotation and all them. We love. And this is kind of what we're trying to focus on here is challengers. We wanna be a part of challengers here with I know Team War has been a part of challengers, and in the future we'll see what goes on with them. And just everyone in challengers just wants challengers to succeed. I don't think anyone's sitting there like, man, I don't want this to go anywhere. I want it to die out. But so that's a great shout out. Anything else you want to do? And obviously do some shameless plugs. If you don't want to, I can always throw them on your Twitter at will be on there. But if you want to throw out your Twitter, throw out anything else, just have at it.
Yeah, I mean, follow me on Instagram if you want to see really cringy daily gym videos, and follow my Twitter
I'll
if
have
you
to
want
follow
to
you on
see.
Instagram.
Yeah, follow my Twitter if you want to see just stupid nonsense every now and then. But apart from that, MARKYB on everything, MARKYB code on Instagram. But yeah, I've really got nothing to shout out. I don't have any organization, so
Yeah.
shout out to you guys and Team War for being a part of this as well. So
Thank you.
it was a great to obviously get a chance to chat with you guys and get more involved in the challengers system.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see you at Major 1 and further on, hopefully, and I'm sure up in the Call of Duty League eventually. We'll see you there. Thank you again for jumping on. I'm just gonna throw it out. Make sure I just followed you back on Instagram, so I get to see those gym videos and photos and everything. Everyone, make sure you go follow MARKYB over at MARKYB on Twitter and MARKYB COD on Instagram. All that. Show them some love. Matt, you want to give yours real quick? Gonna do the outro.
I was gonna say, guys, the Madman Cast on Twitter, the Madman8 on Kick and Twitch. We do a little live streams. Gonna get back into casting this weekend, hopefully. So make sure you guys saw me there.
All right, and obviously, go follow Team War. They have been doing great. They're gonna be doing a lot of content for the Call of Duty League and challenges upcoming. They support and present this podcast. If it wasn't for them, I don't know where it would be. So make sure you go follow Team War on Twitter and everywhere else. This video will be up on YouTube, on Team War's YouTube. Another thing I want to add is make sure if you are looking for a brand new controller, make sure you go to Scuff and use code WAR on Scuff to get a nice little percentage off. Yeah, just figure I'd throw that out there. Make sure you follow me at the... Where's my fucking at? At the Real Crim 7.
We got our Twitter ads in here.
Yeah, forget about it. It doesn't matter. MARKYB is the only one that matters.
For sure.
Yeah, this video was about him, and I'm excited that he joined. So yeah, we'll just call it there. Again, Mark, thank you for jumping on. Matt, thank you for always being here with me, and we'll see you next time. Have a great night.
See you guys later.